You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. All right, now, all kinds of things have been happening the last few days. And something was discussed over the weekend on Face the Nation, which is one of those Sunday morning shows that no one watches anymore. But something happened on Face the Nation that is huge, huge, huge. Now, Face the Nation, you may not watch it. I don't watch it unless something interesting happens, and then I hear about it and I go and grab a clip, which I'm going to play for you in a moment. While we all don't watch Face the Nation, all of the political insiders, the establishment of both political parties in Washington, the entire media, they watch it. Face the Nation, Meet the Press. These shows are like church for them on Sundays, right? So if something goes out on Face the Nation, it is real in the minds of the Washington never-Trumper establishment. So I'm going to play you this clip. This is Jamie Raskin, Democrat member of Congress, and he's talking to this lady that's a big Trump hater, big Obama lover. I remember she was the White House correspondent when Obama was president, and I remember seeing her in Obama's last press conference as president. You would have thought she was his girlfriend. She was so giddy and excited, and who knows what that was all about. But this is Jamie Raskin over the weekend on Meet the Press, talking about something that we in the MAGA movement have talked about amongst ourselves over the past year or two. But the fact that you're going to hear this on Face the Nation means that the Washington people think that this very well could happen. And this is what they think President Trump is going to announce on Tuesday. Listen to this.
It's a statement about the political contamination of the GOP by Donald Trump. And again,
look at that. That's not the thing.
Who is this talking?
That's Jamie Raskin, the Democrat member of Congress. Politics have been contaminated, but that's not the big thing. Listen, things have been contaminated because there's somebody that has the support of the people in politics now. It's not supposed to be that way.
Right.
So when the people have a voice through Donald Trump, things are contaminated. But that's not the big thing. Listen.
It's a statement about the political contamination of the GOP by Donald Trump. And again, Kevin McCarthy and other leaders within the Republican Party are now required to make a decision about whether they're going to try to rid themselves of Donald Trump and his toxic influence on the party.
These 155 House Republicans are his constituency. Kevin McCarthy, if he wants to be leader, will need to consider.
Yes. Well, it's a real problem for Kevin McCarthy now because there are certain pro-Trumpists within his House caucus who refuse to accept that he's really with Trump, and they want to get rid of McCarthy. And some of them, they have names very early in the alphabet, like Biggs, and they might just vote for Trump when they, take the roll call for Speaker. So we know that the
Okay, now I want to stop it there because we're going to get into some more detail. So what Jamie Raskin's telling him here is, and you can hear the panic in his voice, that we have enough. He's already conceded that the Republicans are going to have the House. He believes there are enough MAGA Republicans in the House to not only make Donald Trump the Speaker of the House, but he thinks it's real. And they get into some more detail. Let me rewind it, and then I'll play the whole thing uninterrupted.
They have names very early in the alphabet, like Biggs, and they might just vote for Trump when they, take the roll call for Speaker. So we know that the hard right Freedom Caucus people are in search of another candidate. And one potential candidate whose name has been floated is Donald Trump himself, because the Speaker of the House does not have to be a member of the House. And they are talking about putting Trump right there.
That's not a real option now.
Well, they talk about it repeatedly, and if Trump decided he wanted to do it, it would pose a profound problem for their party because they refused to do the right thing early on. I mean, today it seems like the spell has been broken. It's begun to dissolve. Is it really Trump's party, or does it stand for something else? And Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are going to force that question. They're going to force the Republicans to choose.
Okay. Wow, that's huge. You know,
I did not know you could be the speaker without being a member.
That's right.
Has that ever happened?
No, but it can.
I wonder, do most people know that? Did you know that?
Yeah, I've known that.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
That. Yeah, I knew that. So for him to say that on Face the Nation, and you hear panic in his voice.
It's like official.
They think that they're going to make that move. And here's the deal, okay? The new Congress does not come in until the beginning of January. I don't want to say the exact date because I might be off. I'm thinking January 3rd, but I could be wrong about the date. But in the beginning of January is when the new Congress comes in. And when the new Congress comes in, that's when this would happen. So we're months away from this exciting moment. And let me tell you, Donald Trump is an outside of the box thinker. And I'm not going to go through individual counts here and there because things are changing so much. That conversation would be dated in 10 minutes. So I'm not going to get into all of the specific counts here or there right now just because I don't want what I'm saying to be dated in 5 minutes. But Donald Trump has accomplished so very much. Pelosi's gone. We were talking on the last episode. There's Rick Scott and others are making a move to remove McConnell from being the Republican leader in the Senate. There was talk a couple days ago of Kevin McCarthy not being speaker, and you can see just in like 2 days how this talk of Kevin McCarthy not being speaker has turned into Donald Trump becoming speaker. And this is the first time that I've heard that discussed outside of like MAGA circles where we're like
in official capacity.
Well, we had like a wish list. Well, this would be such a cool thing if he became speaker, and none of us thought it would really happen. And now everyone's going to say, I knew it. I knew this a year ago. No, we were speculating.
But let me ask you this.
This is like real now.
This is a guy, I agree with you, and this is a Democrat saying this.
A senior Democrat on Face the Nation.
I can't help but think that he is saying this to create more problems.
No, they're in a
the
panic.
GOP. That is he stoking the flame, or is he really exaggerating things to upset the GOP? Because they see a lot of division right now. Is this like, is he speaking like this is actually true?
Okay, these Sunday shows, it's like I said at the beginning, no one watches these anymore. It used to be not that many years ago that is Face the Nation, Meet the Press, and This Week. It used to be This Week with David Brinkley. Now it's with that Clintonista dwarf, Tyrion Lannister, George Stephanopoulos. I knew his name. I just wanted to get all those labels out. I'm not like Fetterman. I know it was Stephanopoulos.
Is that the guy from Game of Thrones?
That's the little guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because Tyrion Lannister is a bit taller than George Stephanopoulos, but
cooler.
But who makes $10 million a year on Good Morning America for some reason, that joker, Stephanopoulos. But anyway, those shows a few years ago were widely watched. They set the news agenda. Every Monday morning's news cycle in politics was set by those three shows. Those days have been over for many years. These Sunday morning shows, it's like inside baseball. Only the Washington insiders pay attention to them or care about them. And that's why people should pay more attention to these Sunday shows. In particular, Face the Nation and This Week, because Meet the Press has been hijacked by the MSNBC lunatics. But Face the Nation and This Week with Stephanopoulos is a very good indication to what's going on. Now, this means that the uniparty establishment are in a panic mode of Donald Trump becoming Speaker of the House.
How many votes does he need?
He needs the majority.
Something.
No. He needs the majority. So
that's it. By one or
So the Republicans take the House. There's a whole bunch. See, this is beautiful. There's a whole bunch of MAGA Republicans in the House. There's a bunch of newer MAGA Republicans coming to the House, and then there's a bunch of fake Trump haters. And the ones that hate Trump, that pretend, if Trump's name gets picked up here, like he's panicked in the beginning because it's done alphabetically by one of these Republican MAGA people. If all of a sudden you're a Republican House member and you vote no on Donald Trump, you go down on that list and you're forever done.
Well, here's what I'm wondering, and this sounds crazy.
Even Kevin McCarthy would be put in a position where he'd have to, very well may have to vote for Trump over himself to be speaker.
Well, if his name is in the mix.
It is now official.
And you have a representative who's a conservative, you need to really pressure them to do it. Mm-hmm. But here's what I'm wondering. You know how they said Democrats were helping Trump people win elections? They were funding them and helping them.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly why. Obviously to upset the GOP. Mm-hmm. Would they vote for him as well?
They'd have to. If you
the Democratic members of Congress.
No, not Democrats, no. But the Republicans would have to.
Why would they not do it to cause major problems in the party? I mean, if they were helping Trump-backed candidates in the election during the primaries, which they were, why wouldn't they vote for him to just make things completely chaotic within the party?
They might.
I mean, I'm serious. I could see some of them doing that. Like, let's bring him in and really screw things up for them.
Well, I don't care who votes for him as long as they do it. But I would say, because this happened on Face the Nation today, that this is like a real thing that's in play. And this, when President Trump said he has an announcement on Tuesday.
You think this is it?
What he said was interesting. He says this will be an announcement like none other you have ever seen before. And that certainly would be something we've never seen before. He's going to announce that he's going to
put his hat in the ring
to be Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. And that means that Pelosi would have to hand him the gavel. She probably wouldn't show up.
I think that would be such a smart move. And I think possibly he could be more effective that way. Because I know he wants to get rid of these
Biden would be impeached right away. That'd be his first action. He'd get Biden impeached.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
It'd be beautiful. I must say
that would be historic. An ex-president in the House leading investigations against his.
It's never happened before.
It's
never happened before.
We can all dream.
There have been John Quincy Adams, after he was president, was a member of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So this has happened, but not being Speaker. So this is huge, and I would most definitely consider this like a real possibility now that this has come out. Now, I want to take a moment to tell you guys, of course, we are in Christmas shopping season right now. There is no better place to do your Christmas shopping than MyPillow.com. And with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, there are humongous savings throughout the entire website. In fact, you can take advantage of all the specials at MyPillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And I'm going to tell you right now, anyone that you give a MyPillow gift to, you'll have the same experience Kathy and I do. They will have that gift for years. You guys know everything Mike Lindell makes is very high quality and lasts there is not a single item we've bought over the years from Mike Lindell that we're not still using. We have everything.
In fact, our daughter has MyPillow pillows, and she went to California. She's there for 3 weeks. And she forgot her MyPillow. She actually ordered one with express shipping and had it delivered like 2 days later.
That's right.
She cannot sleep without it.
In fact, she wanted it so bad she didn't even ask us for it. She paid for it herself.
Exactly.
Which is unusual.
Never happens.
So, MyPillow products, they last. Everyone we give them to not just tells us how wonderful they are, but every time we see someone who's received a gift of a MyPillow product, whatever it is, all they do is talk about how much they love it. And again, you could take advantage of all the specials, but there's a huge special right now on the MyPillow itself. And the MyPillow, the first MyPillow I have, Kathy, you got it for me for Christmas years ago before they were a sponsor with us and before we had a promo code. And I think it was about $65. It was.
Yeah, they were a little more money.
Yeah, it was $65. Well, with our promo code Kane at checkout right now, you can get that MyPillow that we pay. And by the way, the one that we paid $65 for, I sleep on that every night. It's like new.
Still has it.
And we've had it many, many years. With our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, just $19.98. And let me tell you.
That is crazy.
You could buy a whole bunch of these. You could buy 10 or 20 of them and give them to everyone on your Christmas gift giving list. If you have like a Christmas party at your work, this is great. And the MyPillows,
that's a good idea.
They come in a great package, perfect for wrapping, and whoever you give them to will love them. And even if you have like a family, a bunch of people in your family and friends, you buy 10, 15, 20 of these, using our promo code Kane. And again, it's just $19.98.
And you can have them shipped, too, to somebody.
You can have them shipped directly to the recipient, but it's early enough now. You can have them shipped to yourself and wrap them. And these will be great gifts. And this is the lowest price ever on the MyPillow. So I would go and definitely take advantage of that right now. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and load up on the MyPillows, just $19.98. So today, MSNBC started showing their true colors towards Ron DeSantis. I'm going to play you a couple clips here. And, you know, Governor DeSantis, if you're listening, if someone close to Governor DeSantis is listening, please tell him, do not fall for this, okay? He's being tempted with the presidency. There was an article a few days ago in one of the big national publications comparing our first lady here in Florida, Ron DeSantis' wife, to Nancy Reagan. They're trying to get her all into being first lady. They're tempting them. And
it's like when the devil was tempting Jesus in the desert. I think he's smart enough to know. He's pretty sharp.
I don't know. You know,
he knows what's going on.
He is being offered all kinds of things. In fact, Sebastian Gorka was on Newsmax Friday night on Rob Schmidt's show. And if you got the Newsmax app, go and watch that show. But I did over the weekend tweet the portion of the interview that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to play the clip of Gorka. I'll just tell you about it. But Sebastian Gorka said that some of the big donors to Ron DeSantis were big Obama donors in 2008 and 2012. And I'm not saying, and Gorka wasn't either, that DeSantis is aware of this. But a lot of, that tells you something. And, we've been talking about, DeSantis is a great guy. He's a great governor. We love him, and we're not criticizing DeSantis, but he is being played here. At least there's an attempt to play him, to prop him up as the Mr. Perfect. And remember, Joe Scarborough's talking about DeSantis should be the nominee, and Mika Brzezinski. So what does that tell you? And as soon as that were to happen, if he were to become the nominee instead of Trump, they'd all be attacking him. And we got a little taste of that on MSNBC today. I got two clips and two different programs. Here's one of these MSNBC pundits. And by the way, this is the first weekend, I believe, without Tiffany Cross on MSNBC.
Yeah, they have some, I'm not sure if it's the NAACP or
whatever,
one of those groups investigating her firing now.
Well, she's a racist.
She's going to lawyer up.
Well,
she's going to sue them.
For what?
Exactly. She has no cause on that.
Yeah, so this is the first clip of MSNBC today showing their true feelings towards Ron DeSantis.
Also, the anointment of Ron DeSantis is very worrying to me because he's just a smoother and more disciplined extremist. And so we can never forget that the ultimate goal, whoever, Fox News and Murdoch and the GOP elites protect and proclaim, the goal is to make it easier to have an autocratic system prevail.
Okay, so he's just a more polite, smoother version of Donald Trump. Okay, that was the nicest thing they said about DeSantis on MSNBC. So then Reverend Al Sharpton, and the one thing I don't understand about Reverend Al Sharpton, maybe someone has an answer to this, but he does not have a church.
No.
A lot of people don't know that. He does not have a church. I don't know why he goes by Reverend. Reverends typically have churches, right?
Has he ever had a church?
Not that I know of. The church of, poisoning people.
Is it Jesse Jackson a reverend too?
He's another reverend.
Yeah, without a church.
Without a church ever.
Yeah, I guess it's a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Does Reverend Al Sharpton have a church at this point? I don't think he does. I know he's got a private plane, private jet.
Maybe that's where he holds his church.
That's his church, yeah. But anyway, here's Sharpton today on MSNBC talking about DeSantis.
I also think that Democrats and independents ought not be deceived. DeSantis' politics is not much better than Trump's.
Correct.
So even in all of our dislike of the personality of Trump, let's not feel that DeSantis is an alternative policy-wise or legislative-wise. This is the guy banning books and anti-critical race theory when there is none, and anti-LGBTQ. So DeSantis...
Anti-Disney and masks.
Anti-Disney. Excuse me. So let's not act like DeSantis is an alternative. He's just a younger, more savvy, polished version of an old man who doesn't know that the people have left the theater. He's still on stage singing, and there's nobody in the audience. Even the lady that sells the popcorn has gone home, Donald. There's no one in the theater but you.
Well, you know what?
What about the rallies? I see thousands of people still showing up.
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands. They're still there. I guess those people don't count.
It's possible, and I'm not just making this up. I mean, this is literally possible. It's possible that there are more people in person at a Trump rally than are watching MSNBC at a given moment when Sharpton was talking here.
Probably.
But P doesn't know that the band's not playing or whatever.
I don't know why they keep bringing up DeSantis banning books with critical race theory if they think critical race theory doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They keep telling you critical race theory doesn't exist. It does exist. It's a concept they came up with. But this is what they do, like when Biden said there is no Antifa. They just gaslight you and tell you that it just doesn't exist. You're imagining things. Yeah. So why are they upset at Ron DeSantis for banning critical race theory books if there is no critical race theory? That doesn't make sense to me.
Banning books.
But they keep bringing it up all the time.
Banning books is, when it comes to not allowing certain books in a school library is not banning books.
No, it's not.
Banning books means when they're not available for public consumption.
There's a lot of books they don't allow.
Well, when I was in high school, when this is crazy. Okay, when I was in high school, in fact, I remember this clearly when I was in 9th or 10th grade. I remember this clearly. I just don't remember if it was 9th or 10th grade. Not that clearly, I guess. Been a long time. But in 9th or 10th grade, they actually had in my school's library at my high school here in Florida, The Joy of Sex. And a lot of you may not remember The Joy of Sex book.
That was a big.
The Joy of Sex book was a big.
That was in your school library?
Yeah, in the high school.
It was cataloged.
Yes. Yeah. And we used to look at it all the time. Me and all the guys, we used to look at it.
I'm sure you did.
And the joys.
Did they have the Kama Sutra too?
I don't know. Well, I don't think we knew what that was then. But we knew what the Joys of Sex was a picture book that had primitive drawings of a man and a woman in every possible sexual position there is. Most of which you probably never even imagined.
So this sexualizing of kids is not new.
Well, I promise you that is not in the school library at the same high school today. At some point, they probably took it out because it was not appropriate. But that's not the same as banning books. Means the government comes in and says this book can no longer be sold in America. That would be the banning of a book.
Right.
When you're talking about books in or in a public library, when you're talking about a school library, you're talking about a place where children go without parental supervision. That is a place that it is okay not to have certain books in it. And that's not the same as banning books like they did in Germany.
There's a lot of books they reject. They don't allow every book in schools. It's not a new concept.
It's not banning of books.
And he did not accept books that were teaching white children at 5 years old that they were born racist.
That's
and
correct.
I'm sorry if that upsets Al Sharpton's narrative that all white people are bigots. Meanwhile, the black community has problems with Jews apparently. Dave Chappelle went on Saturday Night Live and defended Kanye West. So they got their own issues.
I'll tell you this thing. I saw the Dave Chappelle
who's very funny, by the way.
Monologue that he did talking about Jews and Kanye West, and I thought it was pretty outrageous. And
really?
I didn't watch it on...
I read it. I didn't see it.
I didn't watch it on Saturday Night Live because I don't watch that. I saw it on YouTube this morning. I was surprised that... and it was on like the official NBC Saturday Night Live YouTube channel as a clip. I was surprised they did that. The show is live, so if something goes out live, okay, it happens. But it's pretty offensive. Now, one more clip here. This is Doris Kearns Goodwin, who I'm surprised is on any of these shows anymore because I remember many years ago she was busted for plagiarism. She's a well-known historian. She wrote that Team of Rivals book about Lincoln, and she wrote a book about the Kennedys, and it was completely plagiarized. And when you're a historian and you plagiarize an entire book, you usually kind of go bye-bye, but she's still, that's been forgotten. And, it's Trump's the bad guy. Here is Doris Kearns Goodwin on TV today talking about how she feels that Trump's been defeated.
Simple question is, where are we when it comes to our nation, our democracy? Is there, and you're a historian, can we look back on a time that gives us hope that we got through that was similar to this, Doris?
Oh, we've always gotten through tough times. I mean, I think that's what that's why I love history so much. I mean, just think about what people who were living through the Civil War felt, what people who were living through the Great Depression felt, what people felt in those early days of World War II when it didn't look like the Allies and democracy was going to win. And they didn't know what we know now.
Going to win is the same as going to win.
They didn't know how the story would end. They didn't know that the Civil War would end with the Union restored and emancipation secured. They didn't know the Depression would come to an end with the mobilization of war. They didn't know the Allies would win World War II. So they lived with the anxiety we're coming through now. But we came through each one of those times with greater strength. And I think there may have been a moment, what we saw in the midterms, where people were voting what they knew was wrong, what they knew was right. And there's still a lot more that has to happen. There's gerrymandering. There's too much money in politics. There's the division that's still there. But finally, people got to vote last night. I thought after January 6th, that line in the sand would be drawn, and it wasn't. I still can't believe that. As an historian, I thought people will say this was the moment when the chaos ended. Then I thought it would be last summer when the hearings were so powerful. But this was the first time people could vote on what they saw happening.
Yeah, okay. So she is comparing the election results to America getting through the Great Depression, the Civil War, and defeating Nazis in the Second World War. This woman is a sicko. So President Trump is the same as a global economic depression, the Japanese and Germans in the Second World War who brought us the Holocaust and mass murders in Asia, and the Civil War, which was the Democrat insurrection to maintain slavery, which resulted in over 500,000 Americans being killed. To her, that's Trump is equal to that, which shows you where her mind is. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We've just begun. We've got a lot more to touch on. But first, we're going to take this quick break.
Ready to get lost in a story that will touch your heart? There's a page-turner you don't want to miss. Road to Elysium, the new book from award-winning author K.A. Oliver. Learn the story of Ken, a man who has given up on finding the happiness he once knew. When some neighborhood kids decide to rob his house, it sets off a chain of repercussions Ken couldn't have predicted, but ultimately leads to meeting Michael, a young man who will change how he approaches life and views the world. This must-read book is perfect for anyone who enjoys heartfelt, intriguing fiction stories about situations we can all understand. Road to Elysium from author K.A. Oliver. Available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Order your copy right now. The Payne County Flea Market will be hosting its last event for 2022 on November 19th. The Payne County Flea Market is a marketplace where vendors across Payne County and beyond come to share and sell their crafts and more. If you have a garage full of stuff, it's selling time, y'all. This event is free to the public. Every visit to the Payne County Flea Market is a new experience. Whether you're looking for trinkets, tools, handcrafted items, a deal, or a new hobby, we're always welcoming new vendors, artists, food trucks, and even online resellers. For more info, please visit thepaynecountyfleamarket.com. Bring your family and friends for a day of adventure. We look forward to seeing you and your loved ones. thepaynecountyfleamarket.com. Find your ideal body with Slimming Tea from Slim by TT. The #1 French appetite suppressant tea and fat burner is now selling in the U.S. and worldwide. Natural, herbal, hunger suppressing and fat burning teas can supplement fast and effective weight loss. Slim by TT uses a specially formulated blend of slimming plants to aid in your digestive health, rebalancing your metabolism, cleansing toxins, limiting water retention, and burning fat. Slim by TT is 100% natural and gluten-free. You can watch the pounds melt away with every cup. Don't wait. Head to slimbytt.com. That's TITI, slimbytt.com, and order yours right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. So, you know, what's going on with the Senate and everything, President Trump, he said over the weekend, he said, blame Mitch McConnell. And, Mitch McConnell, if you notice everything that happened in the Senate and in the House, okay, but what high-profile Republican lost anything, right? None of them, right? So the Democrats have a party machine. We talk about it a lot, but the Republicans have a machine too. And Mitch McConnell is one of the leaders of the Republican machine. And I've seen the Republican machine at work here in Florida many times over the years. And the Republican machine has a lot of influence in doing things other than just money, because I know a lot of people are saying, well, Mitch McConnell didn't send money to Trump-backed candidates to lose on purpose. That's true, but it was more than that. The Republican Party machine has Republican clubs in every community. And I've been to many of these, and most of them are good people, but every once in a while, you run into somebody. The people that run these clubs have a get out the vote operation, all right? And a lot of times, these local Republican groups and Republican clubs that are part of the Republican machine, and at this whole state level, it's like this. These are people that are business people. Sometimes if it's your local Republican club, the guy that runs the club might be a local attorney who gets a lot of business through the Republic. It's almost like a chamber of commerce, or he might own an insurance agency and he gets a lot of insurance business through it and things like this. Sometimes it's someone who wants to be a county commissioner or on the town council or the school board or something. So they go to them and they say, listen, if you don't do what Mitch McConnell wants and go against these MAGA candidates, you're not going to get any more business for your law firm, your insurance company, and you're never going to be on the school board or whatever it is you're looking to do. And that's what they do. I've seen it happen here before on different things I'm not going to go through any examples of it now because I don't want to get sidetracked on it. But there was a major operation by Mitch McConnell to not gain control of the Senate. And I saw Greg Kelly's show, one of his shows last week. I don't know which day it was because they were rerunning them over the weekend on Newsmax. So I don't know which day of the week it was. But Greg Kelly showed an interview from about 2016 or so of Mitch McConnell in one of his Senate offices, right? He has like 3 offices. They showed his one office, which is his leadership office, when he was not even the majority leader, right? Still the minority leader. The office looks probably like the office that Putin has in Russia. It's bigger than the Oval Office. It's massive. He has 2 different staffs and 2 different buildings. I mean, it's massive, and he's treated like a king. So Mitch McConnell doesn't really care so much about not being the majority leader. He's happy being the Republican leader, even if they're in a minority. Because if there's all kinds of benefits to it. Plus, that's what China wants. But if the MAGA people come in and take over the majority, he's definitely out. He's already got a fight on his hands now to maintain the leadership position. If the Republicans would have gained the Senate, he would have been out for sure. So Mitch McConnell, on all kinds of levels, did many, many things in his power to not win the majority in the Senate. And I think that people are starting to realize mainstream that this was Mitch McConnell's doing, that Trump had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that seems to be what's coming out the last few days. And Trump blamed him too. They're always quick to blame Trump automatically. That's like they're on automatic pilot for that.
Yeah. Everything's Trump's fault.
Global it rains warming. On Tuesday, it's Trump's fault.
Exactly.
I mean, that's their default.
Everything's his fault.
And then things settle down, and then the truth comes out, and everybody is, blaming him because he did withhold funds. And I think you're right. I think for whatever his own purposes are, he likes to keep the Republicans in the minority. And I also feel he didn't want Trump to have these wins.
Yeah.
And give him these wins to like these notches on his belt. So we're not going to win the Senate. And I think that was by design because Trump can't brag about it. He can't boast about it. And the media can spin it and say, well, he's dead in the water. He can't deliver. So he's no longer politically relevant. And Mitch McConnell, and you've said this many times, he would much rather lose over and over again.
Control the lose than lose the victory.
Exactly. And to try, they're doing everything and anything they can to keep Trump out of politics. And, it's not going to work. He's not going to go away. The more they try to, Don Jr. said once, the more you tell my dad not to do something, the more he wants to do it. That's his personality. He's definitely a unique person. We were watching Rob Schmidt the other day, who's so good. I mean, I think you have a new appreciation for him. He's as good as Tucker, if not better.
Who's better?
Everybody should watch him. Definitely better looking. And he said that nobody on the planet could take the arrows that Trump has taken.
Yeah.
He said anybody else would have caved by now. He said he is a special kind of person to take this constant abuse and keep getting up over and over and over again. And he said he said most people just could never do that.
Yeah.
And and for him to be able to do that is really remarkable and should be respected.
It's
really.
pretty amazing.
It really is. I say to you all the time, I don't know how this guy keeps putting up with this
It's
stuff.
amazing. One of the things they're trying to do is discourage the MAGA people. We didn't have the wins that we were hoping for, but we still had a lot of wins, okay? And it's still not over. Like Boebert's ahead, and that hasn't been settled, But we still won. We didn't win as big as we had hoped, but we still won. But they're trying.
We didn't win the Senate, which would have been nice.
Yeah, they're trying to wear you down and get you discouraged and leave. And let me tell you this, okay? The establishment Republicans have played dirtier than even they're doing towards Trump now. I'll tell you something very, very interesting that is something that I don't think most people know about. I know I may have mentioned this once or twice. Richard Nixon and his first vice president, Spiro Agnew, you may not have thought about this. I mean, I know you guys know. Both of them resigned from office, okay, over scandal. Neither of them were really part of the political establishment. Spiro Agnew was a mayor and then quickly became the governor of Maryland, and the next thing you knew, he was vice president. And Spiro Agnew gave a speech that was broadcast live on the 3 networks, and this was after they were elected the first time, because remember, Nixon was reelected, and he won 49 of 50 states in his reelection. They don't teach you that either, because they want you to think Nixon was hated just like Trump. But this was after their first election, so this was like 68, 69. I don't know the exact year, but I do know about this. And back then, it was the rise of the network news, right? ABC, CBS, and NBC. Spiro Agnew gave a speech. Think about this. Vice President of the United States. It was carried live on network television, preempted regular programming in the 60s, and he went off on the bias of the television media. He says you got these 3 guys, and they think they're kingmaker, and boom. And they turned on Spiro Agnew. And they came up with some scandal that he may or may not have been guilty of, and he agreed to resign, and he pled no contest, so it was no admission of guilt. And he even gave a speech, a resignation speech. And in Spiro Agnew's resignation speech, he says, I pled no contest. I know people will take that as admission of guilt. It wasn't. So they got rid of this guy. Spiro Agnew was Nixon's vice president, who was not a member of the political establishment. And then they got Nixon to appoint Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was in the House of Representatives. I think he was the Republican whip in the Senate. I can't remember what he was in. He was in leadership. I'm sorry, in the House, not the Senate. Gerald Ford was in the House, and he was in leadership in the House. And he was planning on retiring from Congress. He'd been in Congress for many years, And all of a sudden, they got this establishment guy as vice president to replace Spiro Agnew, who was an outsider who went after the media like Trump. He gave an – keep in mind, remember, they carried Spiro Agnew on all 3 networks live. No one had ever done this before and went after the mainstream media. They got rid of him. Nixon –
That's probably why they carried him live, to set him up.
Yeah, they wanted him out because he was an establishment. So then they plug in this guy from the Republican establishment leadership in the House, Gerald Ford, as vice president, and then Richard Nixon, who wanted to get us out of Vietnam. A year after Spiro Agnew resigned, they got him to resign. And then a man who, the only president who was never elected, Gerald Ford, because he was not even elected as vice president, this Republican establishment guy came in and took over the presidency for a year and a half. And then we had Jimmy Carter. So the reason I tell you this is because the Republican establishment, when they have people that are in charge of the party, whether it's Trump or Nixon, and they're not towing the party establishment line. They have gone to crazy, crazy methods to get rid of them. And, as bad as the Watergate era, Richard Nixon did next to nothing, during that Watergate scandal. But as bad as that was being can you imagine what it felt like to be a Republican after the vice president? Now Spiro Agnew doesn't seem like a big deal, but back then he was, right? Everyone knows who the vice president is. Imagine having the president and the vice president having resigned, and then you got a president who wasn't elected. It was not a good time to be a Democrat. And then what happened?
Be a Republican.
Yeah, it was a good time to be a Democrat. It was not a good time to be a Republican.
Well, that's why Jimmy Carter won.
And then 4 years later, we had Ronald Reagan. So, so don't let them discourage you or stop you from being involved. The Republican establishment are a bunch of nasty, conniving snakes. They hate you. They hate me. They hate the people. They are...
We just get in their way
of their of their scams.
And I was
That's
saying
right,
to
Kathy.
you, we get in their way. And I was saying to you about the media, Carrie Lake and Trump and people, Ron DeSantis, they take on the media, they challenge the media, and I appreciate that and I respect that. They're not going to change the media. They're not going to make the people in the media wake up one day. Maybe once in a while, like Carrie Lake, you have somebody who quits their job. It's happened a couple times. But, there's thousands of people that work in the media. I'd say 98% are liberal. They have their liberal agenda they're going to push. Yeah. It's always been that way. And these people that take on the media, I appreciate it. And it's good to point out their hypocrisy and their lies. Don't get me wrong. But the media is not going to change. It's not going to change because of DeSantis or Carrie Lake or anybody. They're still going to be liberal. That's what they're trained to be. They're drawn to that field, and they're not going to collectively wake up one day and become honest. It's not going to happen.
Now, I decided after what they did on Fox News last week, I am completely done with Fox News, and I've gone back.
People are pretty upset about
I've gone back to Newsmax, and I know. Listen, I know Newsmax is not perfect. Okay, I know Greta Van Susteren is boring.
She's awful.
Go back to Newsmax. There's some really good stuff on Newsmax, and I want to tell you, this is not a paid ad or anything. Okay, this is me giving free advertisement to Newsmax. The Newsmax app is completely free on all devices, on your smart TVs, on your iPhones, your Androids, your iPads, whatever you got. All of the shows on Newsmax are available, archived on the app. Because I know some of the shows I don't care for, okay? I can't have Newsmax on all day long, okay? I really don't care for Greta. Some of the people during the day, that one guy, Sellers, I don't like that guy. The guy that walked off when he had Mike Lindell on, that guy. I forgot his first name. Do you remember Sellers? Mm-mm. You know what I'm talking about, though. I don't like that guy.
Mike Sellers? His name Mike?
I don't know.
No, maybe not.
No. I can't. You guys know who I'm talking about. Yeah. I almost said Peter Sellers, but that's the Pink Panther guy. That's not the same Sellers. But you get Bob Sellers.
That's it.
But you can go back and watch. You don't even have to DVR it. You can go back and watch it on the app, which is completely free. And Rob Schmidt, who's he's their 7 o'clock guy. He's up against Jesse Waters.
He's great.
He's very good. It's always worth watching his show the next day. Greg Kelly, of course, is awesome. And there's other good things there. But, and I know there's other things to watch too, and Newsmax, we always have our problems and it's not perfect over there. But I must say, I got away from Newsmax for a while, and I somehow found my way back over to Fox. And I got news for you. Fox is bad, bad, bad news. And you sent me an article. Kathy texts me articles sometimes. You texted me an article from that was on Yahoo News from the Chris Salcedo show, who's on Newsmax.
Yeah, he's good.
And listen, this is the headline. Anti-Trump messages are because Murdoch Empire is part of the Democrat-controlled press, Newsmax host claims. And they're talking about Chris Salcedo. Critics who are, let me read the article. Critics who are blaming Donald Trump for Republican losses in the midterm elections are because the having a hard time saying, I'm getting like Fetterman. I don't know, Kathy. Maybe I've had a stroke. I don't know. Because the Rupert Murdoch Empire belongs to the Democrat-controlled press, says Newsmax host Chris Salcedo. Okay, this is the thing, okay? Also, I was talking a bit ago about the Republicans have a party machine too that is part of the get the vote out effort. Fox News is a part of that. Fox News has not carried a Trump speech or rally in years. Remember, they stopped carrying him speaking his last few weeks of his first term after January 6th, right? So President Trump, this is what Fox has been doing a lot of terrible things, especially lately. He has these massive rallies for these great candidates. None of them carried on Fox. I know they put it on the Fox Nation app, okay? Nobody watches that, and that's just ridiculous. And also, Fox News has been out there blaming Trump all day, every day since this happened too. So Fox News, Chris Salcedo on Newsmax is right on the money. They're CNN. They're CNN.
Yeah, basically.
And they're towing the party line. Trump lost. It's over. There was no red tsunami.
Well, they're deceiving their audience because...
Yes. Or trying to.
They come across, they're very confusing, and they come across as very conservative and pro-Trump sometimes. And I think some of the people are. But you never know. I mean, and then they turn around when it matters, when there's like elections and things like that, and they're like giddy when Republicans lose.
That's right.
I mean, they're like laughing and yucking,
high-fiving each other,
having a great old time.
Yeah,
you can see it on their faces. They love it. Brett Baer's the worst.
I can't. Yeah, he's had too much plastic surgery too.
Well, him and his wife. We should find out about Carrie Lake today.
Hopefully, we'll find out about that.
I read an article that tonight we will know by like 9:00.
It would their time. So maybe when I wake up in the morning on Monday.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I don't know why it's taken so long, but we'll see what happens tonight, almost a week later. Mm-hmm. I really would like to see her win. We need that win. I just am a little worried about
Carrie it. Lake is the one they hate Carrie Lake almost as much as Trump because
she's
Carrie Lake is
she's like a female Trump.
She is most likely, if she is a successful governor, and there's no reason I think she wouldn't be, she's very likely to be the second MAGA president in 2028, and they know this, and they're panicked by her. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support. You guys that are Patreon supporters, thank you so much. And, a great way to support the program is by becoming a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description of this episode to our Patreon page. There's also a link to my Patreon page, or our Patreon page, I should say, not mine, it's Kathy and mine, on my website, briancraigshow.com. And there are perks. You get commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. There are other perks as well. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode of the podcast. And also our top Patreon supporters have their names listed in the episode descriptions. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, and Rome, Wisconsin. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all so much. And again, please support the show by becoming a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the episode description and a link on my website, briancraigshow.com. We'll be right back.
Millions of kids ride the bus to and from school every day. When your child is new to bus riding, there are safety rules they need to know to make their journey enjoyable. The book from author Millie D'Onofrio, The Bus Ride to School, available on Amazon, tells children how much fun a school bus ride can be if you listen and follow the safety rules of the bus driver. The Bus Ride to School is filled with great illustrations, as well as a cute melodic tone to it. It's educational and fun, perfect for your children, grandchildren, and teachers for classroom reading. The Bus Ride to School, from author Millie D'Onofrio. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Parents, grandparents, and teachers, there's a book for your middle schooler that you don't want to miss. Zoya's Journey, a children's book that brings magic to life. Join Zora on her adventure of self-understanding, growth, and acceptance. If you're a fan of adventure stories with a magical touch, you'll fall in love with Zoya's Journey. It features gorgeous, awe-inspiring illustrations for both children and adults to enjoy, bringing the story to life with every page. Zoya's Journey will teach your children the importance of being resilient and encourage them to love themselves for who they are. Be a part of Zoya's Journey. Visit Zoya's Journey on Kickstarter.com to contribute to get your copy of the book Zoya's Journey on Kickstarter. Fill your heart with love and joy this holiday season. Order your copy of The Heart of Christmas, a book to help you prepare your heart for Christmas. Enjoy this beautiful season of hope and share your blessings with those in need. By author Heidi Dalton, The Heart of Christmas is a book and journal for anyone who loves Christmas and wants to make the holiday season meaningful for themselves and their loved ones. You'll learn to decorate your soul and how the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies relates to your prayer life. You'll see how to intentionally wrap your gifts with love and enjoy meaningful family time with your loved ones. Connect with the feeling of Christmas like never before and feel Jesus' love as you reflect on the gifts that God has blessed us all with. The Heart of Christmas from author and Christmas lover Heidi Dalton. Visit HeidiDalton.com or Amazon to order your copy for this holiday season right now. Want to know where all the bodies are buried? Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool. Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob. Welcome to Mob-Ammy Beach. This book is a fictionalized account of Miltenberg working at a mob-owned Miami Beach hotel in the 70s. If you're a fan of The Godfather, Goodfellas, or The Sopranos, you will love this story that's full of colorful characters and wisecracking wise guys. It's a story with everything from Playboy bunnies and weaponized parrots to shattering the glass ceiling and getting away with murder, all in paradise. This is a wise guy tale you've never heard. Surrounded by pools, the trick for Bobby Moskowitz was not slipping in the one thicker than water. Bobby lived to tell the tales, and now you can read all about it. The funniest mob novel since Jimmy Breslin's The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool. From author Robert Allen Miltenberg, available on Amazon. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Two stories here that are somewhat related, okay? And I'll tell you the first one, the headline first. Disney plans layoffs, a hiring freeze, and cost cuts, according to the CEO, Bob Chapek, of Disney. And then there's another story that would seem unrelated, but I think there is some relation to them. Male pilots will now be allowed to wear makeup, painted nails, and carry handbags.
Wait a minute.
On British Airways.
Okay.
Yeah, British Airways pilots. Now, that's insane. And, so I want to ask you guys this. I'll tell you how these are related in just a moment, but I want to ask you all that are listening to the program a question. And you can answer in the comments on the episode, okay? If you got on a flight and the pilots were men, okay, and they were wearing makeup, had painted their nails with, nail polish, and had purses, would you sit down on that flight and take off?
Well, I don't really pay attention to the pilot.
You would if it was a man wearing women's makeup and lipstick.
People might start paying attention now when they go on British Airways.
Would you? Because I let me tell you.
Why do they have to make this like declare this? I wouldn't understand.
I wouldn't fly on the plane. I'd get off the flight. Okay. And I'll tell you,
if you saw a guy dressed in drag.
Yes, the pilot, not the flight attendant. We're talking about pilots, not flight attendants.
Well, yeah.
I mean, people have assumed, wrongly so, most often, because they're not all, but that male flight attendants are gay. People have assumed that for many years. They're not all. A lot of them are. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. So that's one thing, okay? But if the pilot was wearing lipstick and women's makeup and had his nails painted and had a purse.
You could tell it was a guy wearing
there's a couple.
Sometimes you can't tell.
Okay, there's a couple reasons why I wouldn't fly on the plane, and it's not because I'm homophobic or transphobic. I am neither of those things. First, it would tell me that this pilot is more concerned about other things other than flying the aircraft, and that's proving a point. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you know that ridiculous thing, you've all seen it, of the guy with the fake boobs at the private school in Canada.
Yeah, where my cousins went to school.
Yeah, Kathy's cousins went to that school.
Trafalgar.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive, fancy school.
Yeah, that's from the
very nice school. I've been there.
Side of the family.
I toured the whole grounds, and I tried to talk my dad into sending me there, and he said, hell no.
Yeah, he couldn't afford it probably. It's like for super rich elite people.
Not for us.
So, when people are out to prove a political point more than doing their job, especially one that involves flying an aircraft, that right there tells me I don't want to be on that plane. I don't care if a pilot's gay or something, but if they're more concerned about being an activist than flying the aircraft, I think that's a safety issue. And the other thing is this, okay? Flying an airplane, I don't fly too much because I do not like flying, all right? I don't like flying. But if that teacher, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, this teacher in Canada, and I think you came up with this, Kathy. I think I heard it from you first. Maybe others have said it since, but I think you told me this first. A lot of people, like Kathy, don't think that teacher in Canada is really a trans person, that they're doing this so that they don't get fired.
Yeah, I think
they're daring to get fired.
I think they were possibly going to end that program or something at the school.
And he's like, daring them to fire them. And the same could
he's mocking transgendered people with his fake boobs. He's mocking
a similar thing could be said maybe of a pilot, okay? If a pilot, when you're flying, you assume that the pilots, especially with certain airlines, are the best of the best. British Airlines, there's certain airlines that I assume the people are top pilots because they're the top airlines who can hire the best. And some airlines I'm more confident than others about because when you're talking about big jumbo jets, I like certain American Airlines, British Airways, there's others, where I assume most of the pilots were trained in the military, right? Not some weekend flight school. And if an airline has a transgender pilot who is wearing lipstick and carrying a purse and everything, and he's a man, they may not be able to properly discipline or fire a pilot who may not be qualified out of fears of the transphobic thing. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think I'd fly on if I walked on an aircraft and the pilot was a man and he had lipstick on, women's makeup, painted nails, and a purse, I would turn around and walk out and I'd go to the ticket counter and say, I'm not flying on this plane.
I just wonder why
I just
British
wouldn't do it.
Airways
what do you
or whatever.
Think? Would you do it, Kat?
I don't know. I just wonder why British Airways felt the need to make this like a public thing. Like, do they have a lot of pilots that work for them that are complaining that they can't wear acrylic nails and high heels? Or is it just one person that works for the company? I mean, there can't be that many, but maybe there's a handful of pilots that want to be themselves. And
it's crazy.
I think it seems like companies that used to have standards for aesthetics, like you see this at Disney World now, they have employees with tattoos all over. They don't have nice haircuts, and some look like they rolled out of bed. Mm-hmm. Disney used to have standards. I think it's okay for a company to have aesthetic standards for the company. And I don't think it's a big deal that if you're a guy, you wear a male uniform. I don't think that's oppressive or anything. That's just part of the job.
Well, a pilot can't.
Okay, say you have a male flight attendant who's a guy, and my sister's a flight attendant. She's a girl. But the women wear skirts and dresses, and the male flight attendants wear pants. So it's still very traditional. What if you had a male flight attendant that wanted to wear a dress and have I know he's not the pilot, and have the fake nails? Do you think that's okay? Or should he adhere to the male uniform? I think he should adhere to the male uniform. We're blurring these lines too much. And I don't think that's oppressive. He's a dude. And I don't think it's a bad thing to wear a certain uniform, have a certain haircut. I remember we were kids. I went to school for a while at a private school, and the guys had to have all their hair had to be above the collar.
Yeah.
That was it. You had to have the haircut. And I remember my mom cutting my brother's hair and taking out the measuring tape or the measuring stick or whatever, putting a collar on him and telling the hair guy, cut it above this. He could not go to school if his hair was below that collar. They would make you go home. Schools, when I was teaching, they had a dress code. But I can't tell you how many kids I had to send to the office because they wouldn't adhere to it. And the parents would call me and yell at me because their daughter's skirt was too short. People need to adhere to some standard.
Well, this thing with
and I don't understand why they feel the need to change this.
Here's the thing with the pilots. I'll talk about all of a sudden going into drag clothing, Yeah. a pilot of a passenger jet aircraft is someone that people must have trust in.
Oh, it's a huge responsibility.
Command respect. Yeah. Give a feeling of confidence to the passengers.
Yeah.
And if they're dressed like the guy in Rocky Horror Picture Show, that just doesn't do that. And I'll tell you nothing about the flight attendants.
I don't know if he'll be in corset and heels.
Well, why not? Why not? If that's how he feels.
I think it's absurd.
Okay, and the thing about the flight attendants, okay, not all the male flight attendants are gay, but a lot of them are.
I'd say a huge chunk.
A lot of them are, But they still should dress as men because a flight, flying, especially on some of the major airlines, right? We're not talking about discount airlines. We're talking about British Airways here, okay? Which is an uppity, and it's got a brand. Flight attendants are part of the flight crew, and the flight crew must command a certain amount of confidence among passengers too, especially in the post 9/11 era.
Well, and it makes you feel safer
flying.
if there's some consistency and uniformity. It makes you feel safer as a passenger. Mm-hmm. And when it becomes a free-for-all, and I'm sorry, I agree with you, if a male pilot came out of the cockpit after the flight or before, and he was obviously a male and wearing a wig with long nails and high heels, I would seriously feel very strange about it.
And you should. And you should, Kathy.
I'd be like, why does this guy feel the need to dress this way at work?
That's right. And it's bad news. And if I had passage booked on British Airways, I would not fly with somebody like that flying. I just think, and I'll tell you another thing too. Somebody that's in that kind of position shouldn't be taking so many special hormones that they shouldn't be taking. It could affect all kinds of things about their mood and personality and behavior. And, I watch on YouTube, and I find it really cool and relaxing. I watch a lot of videos that pilots do that fly major airlines for all the airlines of the world, okay? And not just American or British airlines and not just English-speaking airlines. And a lot of these pilots, the captains and co-pilots with major airlines are YouTubers and have cameras in the cockpit. And sometimes it's two women in the cockpit. Sometimes it's a woman and a man, but whoever it is, and sometimes they're English, sometimes they're Australian, sometimes they're Egyptian. One thing I notice about all the pilots of these major passenger planes, they are so calm, cool, and collected. They have like zero personality. No matter what happens, it's like nothing.
I think they're probably like surgeons. Like there's a certain personality type. Maybe they have like extra dopamine or something, where they're just very calm under very stressful situations, and they're just really unflappable.
But if you start,
I definitely am not that kind of person.
But if they start taking hormones that they don't need to fit in with their purses and lipstick and stuff like we're talking about, that can affect that mood in very stressful situations. Aircraft run into stressful situations that we never know about as a passenger, and I don't want someone taking a bunch of hormones they don't need that's altering their personality. Now, I mentioned Disney with these layoffs and cutbacks and hiring freeze. Disney, there's two major reasons they're doing this, okay? One is the Disney prices have gotten out of control, and that's affecting things with the Biden economy. But all this transgender and things that they've been doing in their battle against Ron DeSantis in Florida has damaged the Disney brand, and a lot of people will not go to Disney anymore. And, I don't like this because, here in Florida, Disney is a very important part of Florida. This is DeSantis is amazing, but our theme parks opened up before any other theme parks in the world, and the theme parks are very important in the Florida economy. But a lot of people are not going to Disney World because of their wokeism, and they're fed up with it and ticked. And I've not seen them walk any of it back. So this wokeism is incredibly damaging to business, major corporations. Disney, it'll affect British Airways will be hit by this.
I don't understand why companies still embrace this. All I can think is that the people running the companies are very woke and very liberal. Yeah. But, we were talking, I see even people that are conservative that have fallen victim to wokeism, and they don't realize how woke they are. But we've all been affected by it in some way or another. I find myself sometimes watching something or thinking or seeing something or hearing something and being like offended by it. And then I have to kind of check myself and be like, you're overreacting here a little bit. It's no big deal. But I think we've all been affected in one way or another by the woke culture because we're more sensitive to things than we used to be, whether we like it or not. And it's just cultures change and evolve. Things were different in the 50s than they were in the 80s, and they're different now. So it affects everybody, but I don't understand why companies go out of their way to make these declarative public statements. Now we're going to do this. I don't know why they feel the need to even do that. Somebody was pressuring them, or somebody at the top is a transvestite or something and feels the need to
Kathy,
spread their lifestyle.
I don't know if you can say that word anymore.
Maybe
I don't know if that's a word anymore. Is that one of those ones that I don't know.
Is transvestite a thing? What do you call them?
Transgendered, I think.
No. Transvestites are men that dress as women but are still feel as male.
I don't know.
Like Tim Curry, and he was a transvestite, but he was still a guy.
But that was like in the 70s.
Transgender is when you are switching. You relate as a different gender.
I don't know.
It's very confusing.
It's very confusing. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a huge story that we've got to touch on, all right? Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Are you a conservative looking for a new podcast to add to your playlist? Then add The Last Gay Conservative with your host, Chad Law, to your podcast playlist. Chad has spent his entire life defending his political beliefs. He's a self-educated expert on all things politics, U.S. history, and most importantly, common sense. He's traveled around the world learning from some of today's leading political scientists. Twice a week on The Last Gay Conservative podcast, Chad destroys political stereotypes and challenges the exploitation the left uses for their own personal gain. You'll learn, you'll laugh, and love having the tools to take on your own version of the mob. Join Chad Law by visiting thelastgayconservative.com and tune into The Last Gay Conservative on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Share the podcast on all of your social media. The Last Gay Conservative. Start listening right now. The newly released poetry book, Broken Wings Can Fly Too, from author Paulina Sophia, engages in free thinking and challenges the constructs of our society. This must-read book helps readers gain a new understanding of womanhood and nature. Order now. Broken Wings Can Fly Too, from author Paulina Sophia, available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Calling all Gen Xers. If you're tired of the internet telling you you're too old to do anything, there's a perfect podcast for you. The Annoyed Adult, brought to you by host Howard Cam. The Annoyed Adult is a fun and fresh podcast for Gen Xers, made for you to enjoy topics that matter to your generation. The Annoyed Adult podcast is here to save you from the nonsense-filled content of the current internet trends and fads. Host Howard Cam lets you know that you're not alone in being annoyed by the way things are today. In each episode, you'll be nodding in agreement as he describes the relatable, annoying situations you face every day. Join the ride. Tune into The Annoyed Adult, a podcast brought to you by host Howard Cam, available on Spotify and theannoyedadult.com. Start listening right now. Get ready for a compelling story about life-changing experiences, unique discoveries, kindness, and mystical visions. Authors Faye and George Chamberlain bring you Connections Past, an inspirational mythic thriller. If you enjoy page-turning action and adventures, this is a book you will not be able to put down. It will take you on an exciting and thought-provoking journey. Could acts of kindness make this world a better place? 26 years after her mother's death, Geneva finds herself on a journey to fulfill her mother's prophecy. Along the way, she meets improbable allies and is drawn into unknown realms. What follows is a mythic thrill ride of twists, turns, and self-discovery. Available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions. Connections Past, from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Order your copy right now on Amazon or visit the author's website, chamberlainbooks.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. All right, now this is really a big story. It's important. It's an important story. And I'm so just upset that this is out there. Okay. Did you hear this thing about the noose found at the Obama construction site of his museum that really is a shrine to the greatness that is Obama? By the way, before I share this story, let me know in the comments, what is Obama? What did Obama do as president that you would consider to be great? What did he do as president that you would consider to be a great accomplishment? Ronald Reagan defeated the Soviet Union. FDR defeated the Nazis and the Japanese in the Second World War. There's Donald Trump, by the way, made us the number one exporter of oil, and he almost completed the wall if it wasn't for Mitch McConnell and the Democrat. So what was and by the way, Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, which will save millions of lives from now and for the future.
That's to me his most significant accomplishment.
So tell me what a great accomplishment of Obama's is. But anyway,
I can't think of
this is in Breitbart. Reward offered after noose found at Obama Center in Chicago. This is the construction site of his museum, and I'm going to tell you this. There was no noose found. There was there was another rope that had a loop in it. Okay,
just like with the NASCAR driver.
Exactly.
So you pull on it. They loop the rope like on a garage or something, so you have something to grab onto to pull it down. That's why they tie ropes with loops like that.
And most people, including me, we weren't in the Navy. We're not nautical guys. We don't know how to make knots on ropes. All we know is how to make like tire shoes. So a lot of people take ropes, and when they tie knots with rope, they do like a bow knot, like you're tying your shoes, and that kind of looks like a noose on one end. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But let me read this story. And this is an important story because it's a lie that's being sold about a terrible thing. If there really was a noose at Obama's presidential museum construction site, I would be outraged beyond imagination.
I think Jussie Smollett put it there.
Jussie Smollett, or maybe that NASCAR guy.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Maybe Bubba Wallace. Maybe they did. Maybe Bubba Wallace drove Jussie Smollett there in his race car.
Yes, they did it together.
And then they put this there.
Exactly.
A $100,000 reward has been offered after a noose was found at the construction site forming the basis for the new Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. Remember, Chicago's MAGA country, Jussie Smollett.
I forgot, yes.
Yeah.
That's where MAGA conglomerates.
This is crazy, right? This nudist in Paul Pelosi's house is from the Berkeley MAGA chapter.
Yes.
Jussie Smollett was attacked by South Chicago MAGA. Now there's some other racist MAGA, white supremacist in the streets of Chicago where everyone is black or Hispanic, with nooses. Lakeside Alliance, and I saw there was some local news footage of this. They brought in the Chicago police, and they collected this rope and put it in an evidence bag. I saw the guy walking with the rope in an evidence bag. Lakeside Alliance, the group of construction companies behind the project, said they reported the incident to police Thursday before offering a reward to find the perpetrators. In a statement, the Obama Foundation, the former president's nonprofit, decried the incident as a shameless act of cowardice and hate. I think claiming that a rope with a loop in it is a noose is a shameless act of cowardice and hate. Don't you guys think a hate? That's what I think. I think it's reversed. The Obama Foundation statement said, our priority is protecting the health and safety of our workforce. The governor of Illinois condemned the incident, writing on Twitter, the noose is more than a symbol of racism. It's a heart-stopping reminder of the violence and terror inflicted on black Americans for centuries. This is just such a disgusting thing that they did. This was not a news, just like the Bubba Wallace, just like Jussie Smollett. I mean, this is it's a terrible thing. They're promoting hate by putting this thing out there, and this whole idea that white people are going around doing such things is absurd. If something like that were happening, it certainly would not be happening in Chicago.
Whenever these things happen, you always come to find that it's a big nothing. When you look back on any time there's been something like this where they found writing, or
it's always debunked.
Always debunked.
Always.
Like with Robert Downey Jr. Was that his name? Not Robert Downey. The talk show host.
Downey Jr.
Mort Downey Jr., who put the swastikas on his forehead, and then
he was attacked in the bathroom by
Nazis. They were backwards because he did it in the mirror.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, these are all big nothings. Somebody just tied a rope, and like I said, they probably put it on something where it had like a pulley, like a lever thing where you could pull, like with the garage. And some people just look for things that aren't really there. They're hypersensitive. They're hyper aware of things, and they're always looking for some way to be a victim and to look for Whitey to be bad. Mm-hmm. So they look for these things and they find them where they don't exist.
And what they're doing by doing this is promoting racism against white people.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of their agenda, what they want to do. And it also, these little things help perpetuate that and keep black people angry at white people.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So Nancy Pelosi, she supposedly is taking good care of her husband, right? She went to Egypt, and now today she's talking to Dana Bash. And listen to this. This is Nancy Pelosi talking to Dana Bash on CNN today, okay, about this midterm election.
But again, the races are close, and we just, we don't pray for a victory. But again, the races are close, and we just, we don't pray for a victory. I grew up in a political family. You don't pray for a victory, but you pray that God's will be done. And on that Sunday, that's what we pray on this Sunday.
Well, I was raised in a political family. We don't pray for victory. We pray for God's will to be done. Is it really God's will to be done to elect people like her that support abortion?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, none of us know exactly what God's will is necessarily. I get that, but
I don't understand how people like her really she must really compartmentalize very well, because I don't understand how she can live such a dual life, where she goes to church, takes communion. Of course, her priest or whatever said she can't take communion anymore, but she probably still does it. Where she takes communion, which is meaning you're in communion with Jesus. In fact, you're supposed to go to confession. And Brian and I learned this when we became Catholic 10 years ago. You're supposed to go to confession right before you take communion, so you're absolved from your sins. Maybe she does that, and maybe she figures, okay, then I'm good. But you're not supposed to continue that kind of behavior. And anybody who promotes abortion or thinks it's okay is definitely not in communion with God. I mean, that's the first commandment. Thou shalt not kill.
Absolutely. So that's arrogance.
That's the top number one.
I've never heard somebody say, I was raised in a political family either. That's another. Now, listen to this. This is insane. This is insane. Okay, The Lion King is on Broadway, right? Have you heard this story, Kathy?
Yeah, Emily and I actually saw The Lion King in New York 15 years ago. It was a great, great play. We saw it on Broadway.
Yeah, well, so listen to this. Did you see the story about the sign language interpreter?
No.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, listen to this. This involves The Lion King on Broadway, right? The sign language interpreter for The Lion King on Broadway is suing the production after the director told him it's no longer appropriate to have white interpreters of sign language representing black characters. A sign language, so he's white. He's as white as I am. There's a picture of him here.
Wait, I didn't know. Hold on. So because the animals are in Africa, they're considered black people.
The animals are black, yes.
I understand they have actors that play them, and the actors, when I saw it, were like all black people. I think 99% the actors playing in it were African American.
That's fine. It takes place in Africa.
I understand that it takes place in Africa.
But lions are not white or black or no.
But they're animals.
They're different species. The animals they're not people.
Human. They're not part of any race.
No, they're black lions and stuff. Yeah, all the animals are black too. I don't know, but listen to this. So
it's absurd.
A sign language interpreter who worked on the Broadway production of The Lion King said he was fired because he's white. Keith Wayne, age 53,
good for him,
said that he and another performer were taken off the show by the company that staffs interpreters for The Great White Way. I don't know what The Great White Way is. The interpreter...
That's Broadway. That's the nickname.
Oh, really? The Great White Way is the nickname for Broadway?
Next.
I guess so.
We'll try to change that, we're trying to change the name of the Seminole schools and stuff.
The interpreter was only brought back to work on the musical back in March after over a decade working elsewhere on Broadway.
Wow.
He gets paid $1,000 per show. This is just a sign language interpreter. He's not even an actor.
Wow, that's a good
$1,000 a show, and they do like two shows a day, three on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, that's a
two
good
a day, and then they do like three on like one Saturday or Sunday, right?
That's great.
He's filing a lawsuit against the Theater Development Fund and Lisa Carling, the director. The group said it was no longer appropriate to have white interpreters represent black characters for American Sign Language Broadway shows.
That's insanity.
Let me ask you this, because this is.
I think things have gone a little too far here.
This is a funny thing, that I heard with an actor once. I don't know the actor's name, but the guy that played Dexter on Dexter.
Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, Michael C. Hall.
I don't know how I know that because I never even watched Dexter.
Probably because Anthony Michael Hall. And he's different.
I love him.
Michael C. Hall, who plays Dexter, became famous on 6 Feet Under, where he played. There was about two brothers in the funeral industry, and he played a brother who's gay. And I remember 6 Feet Under was a big show when it first came out.
It was a big hit.
And I saw him on a red carpet thing being interviewed, and a reporter on the red carpet asked him if he was gay. And he says, no. He says, I'm an actor playing a gay man. He says, I was on another show and I played a police officer, and no one on the red carpets ever asked me, am I a cop in real life? I'm an actor. So, there's this
weird. What that person did with the sign language, that's just bigoted. That's pure racism. Yeah. Could you imagine if you had like Phantom of the Opera 10 years ago where the cast was all white, or some other play, South Pacific or something, where you have a predominantly white cast back in the day? And can you imagine if they had a black sign language interpreter?
Well, exactly.
And they said, you cannot do this because you're not white.
Well, so that's
racist.
Well, what I was finish up on this thing with Michael C. Hall, is it homophobic if a straight person is playing a gay character? Now by these new woke standards,
it's not.
I've seen sign language interpreters for people, like, for example, if Biden is speaking, must the sign language interpreter be white, not Hispanic or black, because he's white?
It goes both ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, this is crazy. And what about this Hamilton thing where, all George Washington and other whites were played by black actors? I mean, where's the racial misappropriation? They're getting crazy.
It doesn't bother me.
They're insane, these people.
It is insane. And the one actor, Luke Evans, who was in Beauty and the Beast, the live action, who's very talented. He sings. He's gay. And he said recently that if I only played gay characters, I would have only gotten 2 jobs out of my entire career. And he said, it's absurd. He said, I play straight characters all the time. And he said, if I didn't, I wouldn't have any work. He said, it's ridiculous that you have to be gay to play a gay character. It's called acting. Now, I understand you're not going to put somebody in blackface. I get that. But there are characters that play different ethnicities, like Lou Diamond Phillips or Anthony Quinn, or we were watching Megaforce last night, the Ron Silva guy.
Yeah.
These are actors that are a certain ethnicity.
Henry Silva,
Lou Diamond Phillips, Anthony Quinn, like I was saying, they're a certain ethnicity, but they play different. Anthony Quinn played everything but black. I think he played Greek, Italian. He played French when he played Gauguin. He just had that kind of look where he could like pull it off. Same with Lou Diamond Phillips. He's played Spanish. He's played Native American. I don't know what he is. He's a great actor. I love him. He doesn't play a white guy, obviously, but he's played different ethnicities because visually he can pull that off. So you're not going to see actors in blackface. Obviously, that would be bad. But this is the sign language interpreter, which is, to me, that is just pure racism. And whoever fired this guy, good for him for suing. And I think he definitely has a case.
Oh, yeah.
The person who did this is like Tiffany Cross. He's been watching Tiffany Cross too much, or Joy Reid. He's just a
director.
He's just a bigot.
Well,
he just hates white people.
And I hope that this guy does not settle. This really needs to go through the process. That's like
absurd.
This case here is like a Rosa Parks like case. I know you'll think that's ridiculous, but things have gotten so wacky. There was a story on CNN over the weekend. The Powerball was really big, like $1 billion again or something.
$2 billion.
And was it okay? And CNN said that the Powerball is systemic racism because it preys on black and brown low income communities who buy.
How so?
Because they buy lottery tickets they can't afford.
Does somebody put a gun to their head and make them do it?
No, but
there's plenty of poor white people that buy them too.
Listen. Liberals are out of their minds.
They don't think white people can be poor. Just go to any trailer park and you'll see it.
That's right.
Go to the Appalachian Mountains and you'll see plenty of poor white people.
Go down the street. You know how much rents are in Florida now? I mean, I don't know how people are doing it.
They just think all white people are rich.
I wish.
It's ridiculous.
I wish.
There's plenty of poor white people.
That's right.
And there's plenty of rich people that are black or Hispanic too. Plenty. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter in this country what your ethnicity is. You can be successful. You can be poor. It's just amazing to me there was this girl, and I've talked about this before, that Emily knew a long, long time ago, like in kindergarten. And her mom was white, and the daughter was white. And her mom was on welfare and kept having babies to stay on welfare. And I ran into her in Target. She's my age. Okay, I'm 52. I ran into her in Target like 8 years ago. So she was about 45 years old. And she just had a baby. And I thought it was her daughter's baby because her older daughter was like in her 20s. Oh, no, I just had a baby. So she's still having babies to stay on. She's a white chick. And that's not the stereotype, but that's what she does.
She's trying to have babies until she qualifies for Social Security.
Exactly. Exactly.
And who knows?
Stop feeding into the stereotypes.
Might be able to do it.
And the richest girl in Emily's high school was a black chick. She told me her parents were doctors.
That's right.
She drove like a Maserati or something.
Which would be very...
Stop believing stereotypes.
To high school, she drove a Maserati.
Exactly. Stop believing stereotypes. They're just... Right. But liberals love to stereotype people.
Anyway, this guy... this guy with the sign language on Broadway. I mean, what a
It is nutty, so ridiculous. I'm glad he's suing them.
I wish I would have taken sign language in school. I didn't know they were paid $1,000 a show. I would have gone to Broadway and been a sign language interpreter.
That can't be easy. I wonder why they still do that instead of just putting up a screen with like lyrics. They still use sign language interpreters, which instead of just having a screen with the words they still do that. It's interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're all out of time, guys, but thanks for tuning in. My name's Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.
How far would you go to find your destiny? Danger lurks in plain sight, but passion is blinding. Join Geneva as she embarks on a journey full of lies, fear, and heartbreak in the new book, Face of Duplicity, from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Face of Duplicity is a psychological thriller that will keep you clinging to the page until the very end. It's full of unexpected twists and turns, packed into a story that will keep you questioning who to trust. Push the limits of desperation and passion. Get lost in a story of obsession, murder, and pursuit, where people are not always who they seem to be. Face of Duplicity, from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Order your copy on Amazon or visit the author's website, chamberlainbooks.com.